All right. Hello again, Adventures, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog and my first in a series talking about how you can turn your hobby into a business. This is Daily Vlog 2025, day number 9, and this is the first episode of how to turn your hobby into a business. In today's episode, we are going to talk about what to do before you attempt anything, otherwise known as let's build a business plan. So, quick disclaimer. I am not a quote-unquote professional YouTuber. And by that, I mean I have never been paid by YouTube. My channel is not monetized. I have never made a living through content creation. I simply have a business degree and have a decent, about a decade's worth of experience running, working in retail management extremely successfully. So please do not take any of the things that I say here as absolute law or fact or anything. These are my suggestions of things that I would do were I to attempt to try and turn this YouTube channel into my primary income source. So that out of the way. And I needed a drink as well. So let's talk about what is a business plan and what do you do before you start a business. So a business plan is something that, surprisingly enough, is starting to become a bit archaic, mostly because there are a lot of other ways to get your startup capital, which is the money that you use to do everything from purchase a building for your storefront or your restaurant, whatever it is, buy all the equipment necessary to be able to run your business, build up your supplies if you're making concrete products. All that stuff is purchased as what's called startup capital. And it used to be the primary way that you got to startup capital is you would create this thing called a business plan. Now, a business plan is basically where you list all of the numbers that would show that this business can work. You would show things like the costs of running the business. You would show your estimated income and revenue from various sources. You would talk about marketing strategies and all these other things. Basically, it's you proving that if you are given that money, you know what to do with it. Like I said, probably about 2/3 of a business plan was pure numbers, and then the rest of it was talking about strategy. This is my staffing model. This is my marketing strategy. This is how I plan to make money. This is how I plan to deal with changes in the market, stuff like that. So nowadays, though, there's so many other ways to get startup capital, including things like crowd funding, or basically what we're going to talk about today, which is kind of just starting a quote-unquote business with technically your own money, because it starts as a hobby and slowly changes over. So because of that, you no longer have to convince a bank that you are solid enough in what you're doing that if they give you money, they're not only going to get their money back, they're going to get all the interest on the loan, which is how banks make money. They make money by taking people's money and then lending it out to other people. And then when those people pay them back, they pay them extra in the form of interest. That's how banking works. And it used to be that's how business worked as well. Now, like I said, things are different. But if you are considering turning your hobby, whether it is a YouTube channel, whether you're a garage blacksmith or whatever, you can follow basically these same steps to start figuring out, am I at a place where I can make this an actual viable business that will support me how I am now. And that's what we're going to focus on. This entire video is going to focus on primarily numbers. Numbers in business, numbers are everything. Anyone that tells you otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. However, a lot of people kind of misunderstand what numbers are everything. Things like, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube claim that, well, you don't have to worry about the views or anything like that, or if you focus too much on this particular metric, bad things are happening. Technically, yes, that is right. But if you're running it as a business, then the numbers do matter. Not so much how many views you get or what's your like to dislike ratio. That's marketing stuff, which can be useful, but as far as running your business, it's secondary. The real numbers that you need to know are how much gross revenue do you have? How much money is coming into your bank account from this? And what are your expenses? How much money is going out of your bank account to pay for literally everything? If your expenses are higher than your gross revenue, then you cannot turn this into a real business because you will go bankrupt. If your gross revenue is higher than your expenses, you might be able to turn it into a business. But there's so many other factors in there. And there's so many things that you can do to modify those numbers that a lot of people simply go, oh, am I making enough to make rent? Yay, I'm a real YouTuber now. No. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do something extremely boring, but extremely valuable. We are going to make a spreadsheet. If anyone is not familiar with what this particular program is not Microsoft Excel. This is a program called OpenOffice. Microsoft Excel is the industry standard and has been for like 40 years. It costs money. OpenOffice has basically all of the programs that you would get in normal Microsoft Office for free. Now, they're not as flashy. They don't have as many kind of integrations with other things. One of the things Microsoft does super, super well is they can integrate stuff into lots of different stuff. So if you have the money, you might want to stick with the actual Office products. If you have no money, like me, OpenOffice is free. So this is a spreadsheet program. This is specifically called OpenOffice Spreadsheet. Spreadsheet programs are exactly that. They are filled up with these little cells, like that and that and that, and each cell contains something in it. And through the use of formulas and other things, you can make the cells do cool things for you to make your life easier. What we're going to use it for is we're basically going to create our own really, really basic profit and loss statement. Now, is this an actual P&L report? Absolutely not, because we're not taking into effect actual profits. This is more of like gross revenue versus expenses statement, but it's going to give you a good idea of what you where you are financially and if you can financially afford to quit like your W-2 style job in order to start creating full time. So. Things that we're going to point out here. We're going to start off actually at the bottom here. You see these little tabs that I have? They're cool, right? Tabs are something that I see a lot of people that play around with Excel never really mess with, because technically the Excel spreadsheet goes in an infinite amount in each direction. So you can make one spreadsheet have literally all the information that you want, or one sheet to have all the information that you want. It's not particularly useful in that route unless you are only studying a single variable. This is going to be significantly more complex than that, so we're going to use these different sheets. And in order to make this as easy as possible to navigate, what we're going to do, they normally say sheet 1, sheet 2. We're just going to right click on it. We're going to go rename sheet. You can name it anything you want. I've started with this sheet, naming it food. And this is the other thing that you're going to need in order to do this. You are going to need a copy of your most recent bank statement and any credit cards you have. You're going to want, I would highly recommend to have printed copies of them, because the ability to write on them and highlight and things like that is going to make this process a lot easier. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at your finances over, in this part, just a month, to figure out what your monthly expenses are and look at your monthly income, find out if they will work. So have those nearby when you're doing this. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to split costs into a few different categories to make it easier later on for us to figure out where we can trim the fat and where we need to say no, this is essential. We can't to change this. So the first tab we're going to do is going to be food. Food is really, really important for everyone, and food is going to be the thing that you technically have the most control over. What I mean by that is there are a lot of different ways to modify your food budget. Everything from cooking more things yourself versus buying takeout, buying delivery, and things like that. That will make a massive, massive difference in how much you spend on food every month. Also, buying things in bulk, buying cheaper generic versions of things. These are all things that you can do to shore up your food budget. Now, depending on how many people you support, your food budget might be relatively small, and it really might not matter. Like the difference between, $200 and $300 for food each month is not massive. However, especially when you're dealing with things like rent, which can be $1,200 to $1,500 a month, an extra $100 is not nearly as big a deal as it sounds. However, if you have like a family of 4 or something, and you spend $800 or $1,000 a month on food, you might be able to find ways to significantly crunch that down to maybe only spending $600 a month or $500 a month by buying in bulk, things like that. But the easiest way to track all that is we're going to go to all of our different statements, and we're going to look line by line, and every single time a purchase is on there that involves food, we're going to put it in here. Now, why does it matter the date? That'll come up in just a second here. But we're going to name it something. You can be generic, like I have here, where it's just groceries. Or you can be very specific. I can go, okay, this is groceries from Kroger. There. Now I know specifically where it was. You can get as exact or non-exact as you want. The more things that you have here, the more you're going to want to differentiate them, especially if, again, you need to trim the fat somewhere. But every single item on your bank statement that is related to food, even if you bought other things with it, right now, this is not really detailed or anything. This is a very basic process. So you went to a grocery store, you bought food, and then you also bought a couple quarts of oil for your car. Don't worry about putting the oil in a different section. Majority was it for food. We're going to call it groceries, and we're going to list the cost here. It's important that you have all of your totals, all of your monies in one column. We'll figure that out in a second here. But you put all this stuff here. If you want to get fancy, you can actually tell Excel or OpenOffice spreadsheet to always round things to 2 decimal places, so it looks like instead of this being a 2, it would print it as 2.00. I didn't do that. Just put the numbers in here for every thing. And the reason we do the dates thing. Well, let's go. I went through the entirety of my bank statement. I have all the stuff there. However, I also used my credit card to buy some food as well. So now on 0105, and here's a cool thing. If I just go 15, it automatically understands that I'm probably doing a date there. So it'll automatically populate it like that. But on the 5th, I used my credit card to get some burgers. And that cost me $24.32 because burgers aren't cheap anymore. Now it's no longer in order of anything. Well, that's kind of annoying. Especially if I'm trying to figure out where the expenses are going. Well, the reason we have dates on here is we can do here, we can do here. We're going to click on data up here. We're going to go sort. And then we want to sort it by the date, which is column A. Ascending, we click OK, and it automatically puts burgers here. So that's why we do dates. It makes it easier for us to figure out where in the month our money might be running out. Dates are always useful. So this is the food tab. Why do we have an entire tab just for food? because depending on how you run your household, the likelihood that there are going to be just random food costs that are going to come up is really, really high. Like, you might be going out and, like, you see here, snacks at Walmart. I went to Walmart, I saw a vending machine, and I got me, 2 things of pretzels for $1 a piece. Being able to have an entire tab where this is all that it is food is very, very useful. Do you have to set it up this way? Absolutely not. But doing this means that when you get home after you do something, or just when you're doing your stuff at the end of the month, having everything that goes in food into one primary tab, for me, makes sense. Feel free to do things differently, but it works for me. Moving on. Now we're looking at monthly bills. These are things that you only pay for once a month. They may fluctuate between month to month, but you are not going to have multiple rent payments for the same building or something like that. I organize these by this because a lot of times, if you are trying to modify your budget to make things more economical, simply looking at, wow, our electricity bill was really, really high for this particular month, you can go, okay, well, if we can knock that down, then we're going to reduce this and this, or credit card stuff like that, or subscriptions that you have. Well, we're paying a lot for Netflix. If we just knock Netflix off, then we're completely fine on that. Because all of these happen only once a month, I don't have any dates on them. If you want to put the date that it comes out of your bank account, you absolutely can. Because they're monthly, I did that. And these are things, again, that some people won't always think about when they're thinking about their finances. Rent is always something people are going to think about. Your various utilities, electricity, water, if you have to pay for sewage separately, those are things that you're going to think about. However, especially if you rent, you might not be thinking about your home insurance or renter's insurance. You might not be thinking about your car insurance as far as bills, because when you think of your bills, you think of this stuff right up here. But especially if you're a renter, I highly recommend having renter's insurance. And if you are a homeowner, which is becoming less and less, or more and more rare nowadays. But if you are a homeowner and you have a mortgage, most banks will not allow you to have a mortgage and not have some kind of insurance coverage. The numbers that I have here are made up. I did look at like national averages for things like home insurance and car insurance, and those numbers are somewhere in there, but every state has different prices. Where you live in the state is going to change. So none of these numbers are real. They're just numbers that I made up, so I have numbers there. Same thing is true about electricity, water, and rent. These are just made up numbers. You can pay $1,500 for rent somewhere. You can pay $50 for water somewhere. Am I saying that this is what it's going to be for you? Absolutely not. This is why you have your bank statement out and your credit cards out, so you can actually put the real numbers in here. And then the final thing we have here is the total column, and this is going to become very, very useful. Now, this is where we actually get to use one of the fun things for Excel. This, you notice, doesn't say a number here. It's got these weird letters and parentheses and things like that. This is what's called a formula. Formulas are the thing that makes Excel as powerful as it is, and it also makes it as easy to use as it is once you have things set up. So for this in particular, what we're going to do is, I'm going to just delete this outright. We're going to do it all over again. The one formula I'm going to teach you works in both OpenOffice and Excel. It is a remarkably simple formula. There's much more complex formulas that you can use that can do much more cool things, but we're just going to use a really simple one. All formulas start the same way. You type equals, then you're going to type whatever your formula is. This formula is very, very complex. It will probably require you writing it down. Save a couple pages for it, because there's a lot that you need to know. You type the letters S, U, and M. And as you can see, it's already telling me, hey, are you trying to use the sum formula? That's what we're going to do. And then we do open parentheses. And now it's asking me, well, what do you want me to add up? And to make this automatically update for us, I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold the shift key. I'm going to click all the way down here. Then I'm going to hit enter. Now, anytime I put something in here, it's going to automatically update this. Like, let's say I have to start paying for sewage, and it's costing me $50 a month. As soon as I do that, it's automatically populated. So now I don't have to worry about, well, all my totals off. Am I going to have to change everything? That's why we use formulas. So we've got all that there. Credit cards, I want to emphasize on this. If you do things like I do, where I use a credit card to build my credit, but I don't actually keep a balance on it. And so what I do is I purchase things on my credit card and then I pay them off. If that is what you do not put the payoffs here. Like, let's say you put your groceries on your credit card and then you went home and you made a payment on it so that you don't have a balance on your card. Don't put that payment here, because then you're going to be technically paying for it twice, because you're taking things off of your credit card already and putting them in that food tab. And then you're also putting payments here. No, this is specifically if you have a balance on your credit card, this is the additional money you are paying to reduce that balance. This is another thing that is absolutely essential. If you want to run your own business and you have massive amounts of credit card debt, get rid of the debt. You will have plenty of other ways to get debt running a business. You don't need personal debt. And doing something as simple as every month I'm going to pay $50 to my American Express card on top of everything else is really, really useful and will eventually get rid of that. It also reduces how much you have to pay in interest and things like that, which is not something that I have on here. So we can, these are your credit card payments. We can also go Amex interest. Let's say you had $22.12 in interest, and then our MasterCard interest. I can't spell. Let's say that was $41.75. And then our Visa is it interest? Is that how we do it? There we go. And let's call it, since that's the most expensive, let's call that $68.79. So now we have the actual money we're using to pay down, and on your credit card statement every month, it will tell you how much interest you got added to your bill that month. So you can add those things in right there, so you are keeping an eye on that, because that is an expense. And you do need to track this stuff. If you don't track all of this stuff, when you do start running your business, you're going to start realizing that I don't have enough money. Where's all my money going? Oh, I forgot that this is a thing that I pay. And then the last thing, subscriptions. Something that, especially if you're a YouTuber, you will probably have a Creative Cloud subscription. Creative Cloud is the monthly or yearly subscription that you can pay to have access to Adobe products like Photoshop, Premiere Pro, InDesign. These are all absolutely wonderful, useful things that have become nearly essential if you want to run a YouTube channel that does good stuff. You're going to need video editing software. Is Premiere Pro the only software you can get? No, there's lots of free stuff out there. Premiere Pro is better. I'm going to just tell you this right now. It's just better. Is Photoshop the only photo editing tool? Absolutely not. I did not start using Photoshop until maybe like a year or two ago, and I was still able to do a lot of stuff just in Premiere Pro and using a program called GIMP, which is a free photo editing software. Guess what? Photoshop is significantly better. And if you're doing this professionally, you are probably going to be getting some kind of professional quality stuff. Creative Cloud is the industry standard. And to get all of the programs that they have right now, it's like $60 a month. So that's where that number comes from. If you have subscriptions to other streamers and stuff like that, you like to support other people, put it in here. If you pay for things like Twitch Turbo, YouTube Premium, Music Sub. If you are a creator on YouTube, you're a creator on Twitch, whatever, and you like to have background music, or if you're creating videos, it's always a good idea to have something playing underneath of a video. It just makes it easier for people to watch and listen to. It would be smart if I would do that. YouTube does have their own library of songs that you can use in them, but they're going to be songs that everybody else uses. There are a lot of different services where you pay a monthly fee and you are allowed to use the music from that service in your video and monetize them and everything like that without worrying about getting copyright claims and stuff like that. I found one of them. I found their cheapest option. That's where the $10 comes from. And then other things like Netflix. If you have a Netflix account, an Amazon Prime account, these are just monthly costs. If you have a Zoom account, I have a Zoom account because for running tabletop RPGs online, Zoom is the best video chat software I have found that gives me everything that I want without a lot of stuff that I don't want to be able to run the stuff I want to run. So again, anything that is a monthly subscription, if you have like a beard subscription where you get like beard oils and razors, it would all go here. And just like everything else, we have our formula. Now, what happens if, you know what, I have another credit card and I just don't have enough space? It's very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to right click here. We're going to go insert. We're going to go insert entire row. Boom, everything goes down. But now this isn't what I want it to be because it's not going to add this number. That's what this little box down here goes. If I go like this, what that does is it shifts everything down. Really? Yeah, it's not as useful as I'd want. So again, the basic thing that you can do, since that doesn't work the way I want to, and it stops reading the top column here, which is dumb. But sure, let's say that's exactly what I wanted it to do. Is you just go here and go C16, C22. Does the same thing. All you have to do is add that additional thing in there. You can even just go like this, and you can shift it up, down. You can make it bigger. You can make it smaller. It's really simple, really easy. And then we have it fixed. And we can just delete that one. So you can see, very simple, very easy to do. We have the same thing down here. And again, these totals are mostly just going to be so that we know how much each category has. Moving on. Incidentals is literally just everything else that doesn't fit in a category. Depending on how much you actually leave your house, gas is another one that tends to be a really common payment. So I have an entire category that's just gas. And in this case, I'm separating it by, let's say I have 2 cars. I don't. I actually can't drive. Seizures are fun, folks. I physically can drive. I'm actually a very good driver, but because I have seizures, the government won't let me have a driver's license. So legally, I can't drive. I used to drive before the seizures. Again, I was a very good driver. So let's pretend you have 2 different cars. So whenever you fill up the Ford, you list it as Ford. Whenever you fill up the Toyota, you list it as Toyota. Maybe you want to differentiate it to different gas stations, whatever, or it's just generic gas, whatever. It's just ways for you to be able to see how much you're spending on gas every month. And again, we're using that same sum formula. And then this is every other time that you spend money. I went out and got a haircut. We're going to call that that. If you have a regular weekly or monthly hair appointment and the number never changes, you might want to put that into monthly bills. Incidentals tends to be a little bit better for kind of generic stuff like that. I had to pick up some cables, so I just called it computer parts, cost me $50. I needed to pick up a new camera because the one that I had broke. It was $250. I bought a Dragon Dagger because I have no impulse control. By the way, I did not spend $400 on that Dragon Dagger. It was just a number. I spent significantly less because I don't have $400 to spend on a Dragon Dagger. But yeah, and then anytime you take cash out, Having cash is very, very useful. I tend to treat that if I have cash, I do not factor that cash into my budget. Once I take it out of my bank account, the money doesn't exist. And that means anytime I have cash on me, that means I have extra money. It's always more useful to have extra money than it is to have not enough money. It also means that if you get robbed or something like that and they take all of your cash, well, you've already factored that that money doesn't exist anymore. It also means that anything that you buy with cash, you don't have to list somewhere else on here. Can that get you into trouble? Technically, yes. You know, if you're constantly using cash to buy pizza or something like that, it can make it look like you're spending significantly less on food than you actually are. But again, this is not meant to be a foolproof scientific thing that prevents you from ever having bad things. This is meant to just give you a rough idea of, do I make enough money to cover my costs so that I can turn this into a full-time business? So that's basically all of our expenses are split into these three different tabs. Can you get more fancy with this? Absolutely. If you want to have a different tab for absolutely everything, you can. If you want, again, this is infinite. If you just want to have a different set of columns where your monthly bills go in column E and your incidentals go in column K, you can do that as well. I just like having the quick tabs here to make it easier. Well, with all of them on different tabs, doesn't that mean that you have to keep clicking between different tabs in order to be able to see? No. That's where our first tab comes from, totals. This is another thing, one of the things that a lot of people just simply don't deal with a whole lot is the fact that just because they are on different sheets does not mean that they're completely separate. Excel or OpenOffice Calc is the actual name of this. It's called a spreadsheet, but the actual program's OpenOffice Calc can actually get things from other things. So what we're going to do is exactly what we did before. You see, we have this sum where we're going to redo this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete everything here and go equals sum, open parentheses. But instead of clicking something here, I'm going to go to food. And I'm just going to click here. And to make sure that I don't have to redo this every single time that I add something new, I'm going to go down, let's say 50 cells. So hold shift, go all the way down there. I hit enter. And now all the food purchases for the month of January, which is what this is going to be, are all there. The same thing, all my monthly bills. If I double click on it and I go to the monthly bills, it should, does it not? Escape. Never mind. Anyway, this one in particular goes from monthly bills C2 to C51. So if I go to monthly bills C2, again, I'm only doing the cost ones, the total things, because again, we might have to flub things and we might have to move things around. I just do the cost column for my totals. The totals on each page are just for me to understand, okay, my total utilities are this, my total credit cards are this. But when I do my totals here, I'm just adding up all the numbers, which is again why I want all of my costs in a single column. It makes it significantly easier. You can add multiple columns and things like that. This just makes it easier. And then the same thing is true about my incidentals. I just go to incidentals, and again, it's D2 to D50. So I go to incidentals, D2, all the way down. So it's just anything that I put in here is automatically going to be added there. And then this is just a simple sum, B2 to D2. It's these three things. So according to what I put in there, my total expenses for the month of January, $38.72.20. That's how much money I need to make to break even. Well, how do I know how much money I make? Well, now we have an income tab. Again, verifying where you get your income is very, very useful. Every single one of the things that I show here are going to have ways for you to separate out different things. You don't have to. You can just, again, go to your bank statement, look at the deposits column and go, well, YouTube paid me this much money. and just leave it like that. I tend to prefer having it broken down a little bit more. So again, when we're trying to figure out, can I afford to do this full time, you have a little bit better split. So here, I just split YouTube into ads, channel memberships, and anytime you would get a sponsor, you would list them separately here. So this is a Squarespace sponsor. Squarespace does not sponsor this YouTube channel. Nobody sponsors this YouTube channel. However, I see Squarespace ads everywhere. So I just picked a sponsor that I know sponsors YouTube videos. Please do not make the misunderstanding that I'm somehow sponsored by Squarespace. I've never actually used Squarespace. I just know the name. I'm not sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace, don't sue me. I also have no idea how much Squarespace pays for their sponsorships. I just picked a number. This has nothing to do with how much YouTubers make. It's just a magical number so that we can have a number there. So as you can see, that's how that works. For Twitch, subs, bits, donations. And again, this is all stuff. Donations are technically not going to be done through Twitch. Generally, you will have like a Stripe setup or something set up, maybe through Streamlabs, that will track your donations. So you might want to put that under its own category. But that's how much you made this month from donations. And again, this is all imaginary numbers. None of this is real. Please do not assume that any of this is actual money that I make. I don't make money from any of the stuff that I do. I have gotten paid in the decade I've been streaming on Twitch. I've been paid twice because people have subscribed to my channel and they have donated bits to my channel. And I think the minimum payout on Twitch for a long time was $100, and it took me 7 years to get to that point where enough people had donated and subscribed to me that they had a $100 payout. But I don't make anywhere near this kind of money. But if you were, that's there. Merch. Any merch shop that you're going to use is going to be able to tell you how much you're making off of these different things. Again, if you would prefer, you can list it by just overall merch sales, or you can just look at your bank statement and go, well, I got a deposit for this much, and that's for my merch company, and so I can just list it like that. And then the same thing with Patreon. You can tell exactly how much you get from all your different stuff. All that stuff exists, so being able to track all of it individually can be very, very useful. Why? Because when we go back to totals, again, the same thing before for YouTube. We just went C2 to C9. So if we go here, C2 to C9, we just added all of these things and we put it under YouTube so we can tell how much each thing gets us in one place. Then we have our totals. When you look at the totals, this is super great. I mean, it's 3465. We're 38. This is 7220. We're only about $400 shy of being able to pay for all of our expenses with our various YouTube content creation stuff. That's not too bad. If I start streaming more often, or if I make more videos because now I'm doing it full time, I can make another $400 a month. That'd be super easy. Oh wait, what is this? This is where I make another disclaimer. I am not a tax expert. I am barely tax literate, and by literate I mean I know what taxes are. Do not take this as tax advice. I am not an accountant. I hate accounting. Accounting was the one thing on my business plan capstone that they forced me to redo because I put something in the wrong column and it screwed all my numbers. I hate accounting. It was designed by Satan himself. So please do not, and it's not to say I love accountants. Accountants are wonderful people that are laying down on the grenade of accounting for the rest of us. Something a lot of people don't understand is when you are paid from YouTube, or when you are paid your bit donations or regular donations and stuff like that. Unlike a W-2, the majority of the taxes that you are supposed to pay on that are not withheld. If you get a W-2, it'll list all the stuff that you pay for your various taxes, but you'll never see that money. It's always taken out before you get your check. So if you look at your bank statement, all of your taxes are actually taken out before you look at your bank statement. For things like YouTube, Twitch, your merch, and your Patreon, that doesn't happen. Are there ways to get tax withholdings? I'm not 100% certain. I think there are ways to do it. I've never had to do it, and so I don't know. But a basic rule of thumb, just in the world, is if you want to set aside money to deal with taxes for basically self-employment, set aside around 30%. That's what this is. We do our one non-formula thing where we literally just take, for this one, I'll even do the formula again. So we're going to go equals, and instead of typing sum or anything, just going to click on this. I'm going to use the star key, which means multiply, and then I go 0.3 for 30%, hit enter. So our taxes on this, 30% of that is about $1,000. Now, we're much closer to about $1,500 Now, is this the actual amount you're going to pay for taxes? No, it's massively more complex than that. Technically, you are not taxed on your gross revenue. You're taxed on your profit. And there's a bunch of other things that go into it. My absolute best suggestion for you is once you can get these numbers to work, go see an accountant. Pay them a few $100 to look over your stuff and go, hey, this is what your actual tax liability is going to be. It will save you so much time, headaches, and IRS audits in the future. I know there's a bunch of different programs that will claim they will do it for you. Some of them work fine. Find a reputable accountant. Like, literally, there's tons of them. Accounting is a very profitable business because they're worth it. Find an accountant. It's going to cost you a few $100 to do it because accountants are not cheap, because they're worth their money. And have them look over all of your stuff and actually tell you what your tax burden is before you make the final plunge. So we now have this total after tax. Now again, this is just for the month of January. What about for all the other months? Am I going to have to reset up every single thing over and over and over again in order to make this work? Not really. The simplest way to do this, and I've already done it once, if I go here, I click here, I go move, copy sheet. I've done it once already. Whenever you just duplicate something, I want to click here and go copy. Oh, you guys can't see that. That's stupid. Cancel. Hold, please. Let's go here. Properties. How do I make it? Let's try it this way. Sorry, I wasn't expecting this. Let's go. Not window capture. Display capture. We're gonna go this monitor one. You know what? I'll do it for my next video. So basically what you do, I'll describe what it is. I'm going to right click down here. It's going to give me a pop-up list. One of the pop-ups I can click on is move/copy sheet. I'm going to click on that. It brings up a thing at the very bottom. There's a little checkbox you can say for copy. You click on it, go to the bottom and say move to end position. And then when I'm done with that, as you can see, I've just duplicated what had there, but it's now food 3. And I have one for food 2. And then if I click on this over here, I have food 1. You can rename them to whatever you want. If you want this to be February food, I have them just as numbers because it makes it easier. This is food 3. So this is food for month 3, which would be March. All of this stuff is already there. And then the only thing that I have to do, and again, I'm certain there's probably a way to automate this. So you can just click a button and make it work. I don't know how to do that. So we're just going to do the same thing we did before. Equals sum, open parentheses. We're going to go to food 2 now. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go all the way down to 50. I'm going to hit enter. and it's going to track my February stuff. And we just do that for every single month. Before you decide to turn your hobby into a business, bare minimum, you should have between 3 to 6 months of data to look at. The best thing to do is have you do the hobby for at least a year, so you have an entire year of stuff to look at, so that you can compare, compare month over month, year over year, because again, things fluctuate massively. January is an exceptionally low ad revenue month. So if you're looking at here and you're going, damn, I need $1,500 to be able to cover my expenses for January. But then you go to like July and you have like at $1,000 surplus. Well, then you're going to be getting a weird kind of picture of whether or not you can do this. I'm going to go back to here. You really should be looking at a minimum of 6 months. Absolutely your best situation. Look at a year of your finances and a year of what you've made and make the decision on that. Like I said, I would bare minimum say make an extra 30% on top of anything else to deal with taxes and things like that. And once you can get the math to add up, that is the point that you can start going, maybe I should turn this into a business. Now, like I mentioned before, going from part-time to full-time content creation theoretically should increase your revenue. So there is aspects of this. It's like, well, I'm only $500 short. Again, one of the reasons why we separated it out into different things like that is different categories for your incomes. You can go, well, YouTube, right now, let's say I'm making 4 videos a month. And if I go full-time, let's say I can double that. If I no longer have a full-time job, maybe I can make 8 videos a month. And so we look at how much each video does and stuff like that and go, well, if I double the amount of videos that I'm making, there's a good chance that my income won't double. That's not how it ever works. But it might increase by another 50%. So if I make more videos here, if I change my marketing strategy here, all of those things have the chance of increasing the amount of money you make. If I stream instead of once a week, twice a week, or if I start streaming, if I start streaming on weekdays when I used to work, now I just devote that time to streaming, obviously that's going to make me more money. So this is not a foolproof, wow, as soon as I quit my job, this is going to be exactly that. What I'm saying is before you decide that I'm going to quit my job and do this full time, you should have already, when you're doing it part time, enough to cover your bills. Because when you go full time, theoretically, you should be making more money. And that should mean that you're not going to have to worry about cutting costs and other things like that. And you can just worry about the transition from being a part-time content creator to a full-time content creator, which is a hard transition to make. If you have always worked in a job where you have had a boss and now you are your own boss, things are going to suffer because you have never had to motivate yourself to do things. You have never had to create your own business plans and create your own plans for getting things done and expansion. All of that stuff is going to result in you making mistakes, and those mistakes are going to cost you money. So by starting off by going, hey, I have either enough or almost enough to be able to cover my bills right now, so that if I do go full time, the additional money that I theoretically might make, and none of this is guaranteed, but I theoretically might make, is going to be more than enough to cover all of my expenses. If you decide to go full gung-ho before you do this, bad things can happen. I've seen a lot of people where they'll go, hey, I've got savings. I can live off my savings for 6 months, so I'm going to go full-time content creation. That might work. It might not. As I mentioned before, hope is not a business plan. And while it has worked for quite a few people, there's lots of success stories on YouTube where people just went, I'm just going to go full-time without doing any of this stuff. And they've succeeded. I will guarantee you there's a shit ton more of failures that you never hear about because you've never seen their channel, or you've never seen their Twitch stream, or you've never purchased anything from their merch shop because they failed epically and it cost them lots and lots and lots of money. This is not a foolproof way to guarantee that you will have success on YouTube. This is my recommendation of things that I would do were I attempting to become a full-time YouTuber, content creator, whatever you want to call it. And even if you're not doing that, the stuff that I showed you is really useful just in understanding how to budget correctly. You can replace all of the income from YouTube and stuff like that and replace it with your W-2 and use the exact stuff that we just used to figure out your own monthly budget so that you can start making a savings account. Let's say you do want to own your house one day. Well, you can start saving up for a down payment on a house by figuring out your budget, figuring out your income, and then figuring out where you can reduce some expenses in order to be able to start putting money in a savings account that you can use to eventually purchase your own house. Or maybe you need a new car or a new computer. There's tons of different uses for a budget. However, if you want to take your hobby, whatever it is, and turn it into a full-time job, then this is a nice place to start. Figure out how much money you're already making from it. Figure out how much money you're already spending, and see if those numbers are anywhere near close. If they're not, you're not ready to start doing your hobby full-time. Even if you think like, well, I'm only making one video a month now, and if I go full-time, I can make 20 videos a month. Even if you think that's what you can do, it's not going to work that way. It never does. Going from being an employee to a business owner never works out the way that you think it's going to work out. Even if you're someone like me with a business degree, with extensive experience in management, it's not going to work the same way. So, hedge your bets. Get the amount of money that you need before you cut off your primary income source. And if you want to go the route of, well, I've got savings that I can live on, good luck with that. I don't think it's a particularly smart thing to do, but it has been very effective with some people. So, yeah. For anyone that is still watching this, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about this particular process, feel free to put them down in the comments. As this series moves on, we're going to be talking about actually starting the business. This is all stuff that happens before you're even starting your own business. This is how you see how profitable your hobby is, and if it's possible for you to start your business. So we haven't talked about marketing in this. We haven't talked about business management, different kinds of corporations and business structure. This is all just, hey, is it even possible? So if there's any thing that I didn't cover in here, put it in the comments down below. If you have any other questions about this particular topic, let me know. Otherwise, again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.